Hey there, Internet. So I did some testing of white paint and correction fluids and inks. This is something I had to resolve for myself, and it also came up a lot for dynamic drawing. People asking about what's the best paint to use, and I wasn't quite sure what to say because I would formally have recommended this. I've used it for years. It's Pelikan Graphic White. It's an artist's gouache. It has a storied reputation, but it's been discontinued. It's my last bottle. And I still like using it, but I wanted to find something I could replace it with. So I tried a few things. First thing I did was just picked up some of this Shinhan poster color. It's basically white gouache. So this is more just a standard paint, whereas this was a high grade white. But I wanted to compare and see what just how much better it really was than regular commercial gouache. And I also wanted to try out an ink, so I went with Dr.Martin's white indie ink. I also saw LUMA bleed proof. It's a Daler Rowney. Rowney? Wait, Rowney. Yeah, Rowney. I think I'm saying that right. Wrong? Probably wrong. LUMA bleed proof white. And I'd read about and then later found some Dr. Martin's bleed proof white. For a long time now, I've been compensating for the lack of, or I shouldn't say lack of, but I wanted to economize what I had that's left. So I've been using these Pentel correction pens. So what I've done is made blocks of ink using different markers, everything from a cheap marker, what's that bluish one up there, to this really good permanent marker that I got up years ago. It's still working. And a fat Sharpie. That's there. But then I also have two inks that are less permanent. They're both Pentel pens, brush pens. This is a felt tip. It's a big felt tip, so it's similar in size to the pocket brush, but it's felt. And then this is the artist's brush. So instead of having the hard body, it's got a soft squeezable barrel that's also an ink reservoir. Theoretically, you can change them out when it empties, although mine's consistently tend to seize up a little bit. The brush is a synthetic brush like the pocket brush, a little bit bigger, but it's the same sumi style, highly elastic, nice flow. But it uses a water-based or water-soluble ink, so it's not permanent at all, and it's quite active. It interacts with something wet. And then the pocket brush. That's this last row here, and that's my go-to drawing brush these days. So, and I figured that was a good representation of different inks. I painted its strokes and some feathering on each one with each of the white mediums, and then waited to see how they interacted. Right away, these here reacted with the water-based paint and a little bit with the pocket brush for the Bombay white. It'll be pretty useful in some places, but it's definitely not for use on water-based inks. The Pelikan actually did not perform so well. I think I may have used it a little wet, but it interacted with the water-based inks as well. It's a gouache, so that's not unusual, but it's supposed to be a better covering graphic white, and not so great. And the poster gouache, poster paint, pretty much responded the same way. But so the bleed proofs were really impressive. You can see I've gone back over them too with some pencil and ink just to test the surface, and I would say my initial impressions is they work really well. And they work on all the inks. They didn't react. They're about equivalent to the acrylic that's in the correction pen, the Pentel correction pen. And yeah, they were even stable on the water-based inks. And scratching over them with pencil lightly or drawing on them in ink, they didn't interact with the ink or chip too much with the pencil. I wouldn't want to draw. Anytime you're drawing on paint, you want to have a light touch because it's going to eventually give if you push too hard. It's better to draw with light touch anyway, though. But yeah, it performed quite well. So look forward to trying these. I'm going to be doing a bunch of Dracula pages, and I'll be putting these two to work. So I would recommend the Daler Rowney and Dr. Martin's bleed proofs. Both of them are excellent. This would be for correction work and potentially drawing or writing in white. You could use these. I use them with a brush, Which you could use these. I've done some reading, certainly with the ruling pen, which is a kind of dip pen, except that you use a brush to apply the paint to it, and or probably dip pens, although you'd probably have to apply them with brush too. It's not the sort of thing you dip in, and you'd have to get the thinning just right. They come very thick in the jar, so they're not built for using with something like a pen. But to apply them with a brush, you generally add water anyway, so that's well within the purview, and the coverage stays. It's very effective, as long as you don't get it too thin. I do think that that contributed to here. I think I made my my Pelikan a little too thin when I applied it. But as a gouache, it's always been prone to interacting with water-soluble inks, so this is actually really extra impressive. The bleed proofs beat Pelikan Graphic White. Also, I've been using Uniball gel pens, white gel pens, to write, and I'm just testing it out a little bit. So that's it on the works pretty good still. It's not as opaque as any of the paints, but it's a handy little drawing tool. I find gel pens to be variable in their quality, especially like how opaque they are with thin lines. This is pretty good with fine lines. And it holds up pretty well. It does react with the water-based ink. So it's not great for those, but it's good over permanent ink. It's quite stable in that context. So that's the Uniball Zingo gel pens. And the bleed proof. And if you get it, the Pentel correction pen, although I've noticed that this is currently out of stock temporarily on the Pentel website, and a lot of my friends have been saying it's hard to find in shops right now. I don't believe it's discontinued though, so hopefully whatever reason that it's currently not available will be resolved and you'll be able to get it again.